If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
It has been a heck of a year in MMA, a lot of interesting stories, a lot of fun stuff to look forward to heading into 2020. But in regards to 2019, there wasn't a better story, at least in my opinion, than the rise of Jorge Masvidal and a lot of other exciting things that have happened. And I want to talk about that and more with Jorge Masvidal's manager and a manager to a lot of fighters in and out of the UFC, one of the men behind First Round Management. Abe Kawa joins the show for the first time. Very excited about this. How are you, Abe?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I do want to start with Masvidal for a moment because I know you may have seen it early on. I know Jorge may have sort of visualized this all happening, but for the most part, nobody really saw this coming from Jorge Masvidal in 2019. And we've seen guys have big years, maybe win a title and begin knocking on that door to superstardom, but Masvidal basically drove a truck through that door this year, headlining MSG and everything like that. He didn't even fight in 2018. He had lost back-to-back fights before the Till fight. I mean, you've been around this sport for a while now. Can you remember another fighter who had a year quite like this?
Outside of Conor, I don't know, or Ronda, I don't know another one that has. But then again, I could go back to, prior to the John Jones getting the title, and that was also very exciting times as well. John had a nice run to get to the title and take the sport by storm. The difference is timing now. I think we're a little bit more mainstream with the sport, so I think a lot more eyeballs are around to see what Jorge did. So in this scenario, in this day and age, I can't remember a time when a guy just came onto the scene and was just like, all right, yeah. Forget my old record. Forget everything I did in the past. Here we go. Let's go. Brand new person. He's a completely different guy. When he left to the show, the reality show, in the Dominican Republic, he left a certain guy. He came back a new person. He's not the same person. He's not. Fighting style, attitude. Same heart though, same guy, same heart on that kind of stuff. Same good dad and good guy in those kind of ways. But in terms of fighting and fighter and mentality, he's a different animal right now.
How proud are you of Jorge from the seat you sit in and what he's been able to accomplish? Like, how proud does it make you to finally see him get the shine that a lot of people feel he's deserved after all of these years in the sport?
Oh man, I'm so proud. I've seen the hard work. I've been there for the losses for him, so I know what a loss takes on a guy, and every guy is different. Every guy, some guys, they're like whatever about it. Other guys really get down on themselves. What always shows me is when a guy comes back from a loss, what they look like, and anybody can say what they want. Those losses back in the day on Jorge, they turned him into the man that he is today. So, look at it like that. It's inspiring, It really is. You could get losses, man. Take a loss here, take a loss there. Learn from it. Come back. Be better. Be stronger.
Is there something he said to you when he got back from the reality show that made you think oh my God, something special might be happening here? Was there something that you felt that he said to you, that a moment that you felt he turned the corner here?
I can say this. I remember when he got eliminated from the show, he called me right away. He's like, yo, I'm out of the show. I'll be back this day. I said, okay. He goes, have a fight ready for me. I was like, I'm not going to have a fight ready for you that soon. He was like, start talking to Sean, get me a fight. I need a fight ASAP. I said, okay, cool. But that's normal. That wasn't the moment. He gets back to Miami, comes to my office. I'm so sorry. He gets back to Miami, and they had to hide him in a hotel for a little bit because they were doing the finale of the show, and he couldn't be shown or whatever it may be. People couldn't know that he's off the show yet. So he calls me to the hotel that he's at, and he's like, come to the hotel. I said, okay, cool. I get to the hotel. First off, I see him. He's really dark because, obviously he's been in the sun the whole time and whatnot. So the initial vision of him, his hair is long. He's got a full beard. I was like, dude, who the fuck are you? And then he comes up to me, and he's like, yo, what's up? I'm like, yo, what's going on? And I'm like, you good? How you feeling? You got any injuries? I'm just trying to go over all the things that I could go over to think of, to make sure everything is fine. And he goes, yo, cut all the small talk. He looked me right in the eyes. He goes to me, get me a fight. I'm taking souls this year. I said, oh, shit. I fucking got goosebumps. I said, okay. Now I know. Now I know. Like, I'm like, okay, fuck, let's do this. So that was the moment that I was like, he's never told me shit like that before. Before, when we were, getting fights and stuff like that, yo, man, I need to get a fight. Come on, bro. Stuff like that. Yo, who do we got next on the list? That kind of thing. It was always those kind of conversations. This one was more like, hey, get me a fucking fight. I'm taking souls this year. I was like, shit. Okay. It was intense. That was an intense comment to me.
After the year he's had, and when it comes to 2020, and you know how this sport is, it's like a close NFL playoff race. There's like a whole bunch that needs to happen. A lot of like, what if this happens type scenarios. And Masvidal, heading into 2020, has a lot of different options right now. There's, Usman potentially in a welterweight title shot. There's Conor, Nick Diaz threw his name in the ring. I mean, there's so many things that can happen, and a lot can change on January 19th. But what's the best case scenario right now in the mind of Jorge Masvidal? Like, if everything works out the way it needs to, what's sort of the ideal scenario for you guys?
Man, I'd say for him, after this fight with Nate, he got really, really good in terms of, finances now and stuff like that. Thank God he's good on that end of stuff. The one thing that's not going to change about him is who he is. And what he is a prize fighter. He's a guy that goes out there and he wants the biggest prizes he could possibly get. So you've heard him in many, many interviews, many times. We've spoken about this. We go over this all the time. This is one of the things that we talk about. When we speak, we're like, all right, so if this guy wins or if this happens or if that happens, I would think, just based on what's out there right now, we got to wait for Conor and see if Conor wins. If Conor wins, I think that's a fight that, is going to be interesting. I'm more curious to see Conor's body at 170 than I am anything else because, I mean, let's face it. If Conor goes out to go fight Cowboy and it's a terrible fight, let's say it's a terrible fight. I don't foresee that happening at all. Conor's never really been in a terrible fight. So if it is a terrible fight, then is it Conor that we really want next? I don't know. I'm not sure. If Conor goes out there and does what Conor does, then I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's where we go. If Conor loses, we've got to play that game too. If Conor loses, if Conor loses, that's what I think things get interesting. But you akin this to an NFL playoff type thing. We're the Baltimore Ravens. We clinched home field advantage. We're all right, man. At the end of the day, we're sitting pretty. We earned our first round bye to go around and do as we please. But I know Nick Diaz is out there, and that's a fight that absolutely the fans deserve and should see. Usman, he doesn't know who Jorge is, so I guess I don't know. I don't know how Usman feels about fighting Jorge. I know from a stylistic standpoint, that's probably the worst matchup for Usman is Jorge that there is. So I kind of get why Usman's playing that role. But I will say this to everybody. The belt means a lot to Jorge. People may think it doesn't. It really does. The belt does mean a lot to Jorge. It's something that, he's had his sights on for a long time. People don't understand that, in the sport, the way to make the money is to get the belt. Jorge kind of, and I should say Nate too, it's not just Jorge, Jorge, Nate, Conor, they all kind of showed they're bigger than the belts. You could go out there and still make a whole lot of money if you just get yourself right and you're able to properly market yourself and make yourself a huge star. You can absolutely be one of those top paid guys as long as you're there. That really is where we are. The end game has to be, I think a Floyd or now Canelo saying, oh yeah, I'll fight him. Listen, if Canelo really wants to fight Jorge and he really is serious about it, just make that call and all this other stuff we can wait. We're okay with that. At the end of the day, we're in the prize fighting business, and it doesn't matter for him. Listen, you can tell Jorge tomorrow, I'm going to put you in a grappling event with, King Kong. And he'll say, okay, what's the price? He'll go in there and he'll try to fucking grapple King Kong. That's just what kind of guy he is. as long as the money makes sense, he's all right, man. So like in terms of that, the UFC knows where we are. They know what we're looking at. They know where we're trying to be at. And I think the fans. I don't know, Mike. Do you think the fans appreciate it or not? Like the guy's really just. He's looking at it like, look, put me in the biggest fights you can put me in because I want to make the most amount of money. Now that, most fans are like, oh, it's about the money. It's about the money. I've been seeing online, most fans are like, dude, go get your money. You earned this, dude. Go get your money. Don't turn around. Don't sit here and play games with it. Just go get your money. So I don't know. What do you think? You tell me what you think.
I mean, he's not like a guy who's won 2 fights in the UFC and is demanding this stuff. That's a different story. Like he's been in this game for so long, and he's fought everybody. He's basically made his own luck at this point. He had this vision of what he wanted to accomplish. He went out there and did it. If anyone thought that they'd be creating a title belt for anybody in 2019, Jorge Masvidal would probably not be on the top of anybody's list, but he made that happen. So I think he has earned the respect of every single fan in the sport at this point in time. And I was going to ask you about the belt thing too, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't think he really cares about the belt, but it's kind of refreshing hearing you say that he does care about the belt, but he also wants to be paid as well. And I can understand that too.
Well, I would say this, if we fight Usman, who's the A side, who's the B side?
Well, Masvidal's the A side.
The A side, right? So when we look at it, so who's bigger than who? The belt for a lot of guys, and this still stays true to this day, it's a means to get paid. That's why you fight for the belt, not to prove you're the best in the world. The belt represented the most amount of money. So that's why you did it. Now, once you get the belt, now it's your job to prove you're the best in the world. This is the way I look at it. This is my vision of the belt. The belt isn't, when you're coming up, it's a way for you to make your money. Once you get it, now you start showing you're the best in the world. That's why I think John is the greatest fighter of all time. I also rank DJ as probably 1B, 1A, maybe number 2 there. Not taking anything away from Khabib. I don't want to piss off any of the Khabib guys. Fans. He's a tremendous fighter and whatnot. But John has been defending a belt for I don't know how many years now. And then you look at DJ. DJ defended his belt, just as long or whatever. Whatever way it may be. GSP's another one. Like those guys were the best in the world. Those guys are the best in the world. When you just win a belt, I don't think that makes you the best in the world. I think that's your means to get paid. Now that you have the belt, now you got to show now you got to show everybody you're the best in the world. Now you've got to take on all the comers. You've got to take on all the young, hungry lions. You got to take on all those guys. Once you do that, then I'll be like, okay, you're the best in the world. In the process, you'll be making a lot of money. However, I think what we've shown is, well, Jorge's out here going, like you said, he's fought the who's who. He's fought everybody. I don't know how you don't start talking about this guy being one of the best welterweights there is, period. The guy is doing what he's doing. If he goes out this year, beats Conor, beats Usman, let's say makes a transitional fight in whether it's boxing or whatever it may be, something like that, and he goes out there and for whatever reason puts on a better show. Let's say even for all the crazies, he wins, and I say that because he's gonna win. He wins. He beats a Canelo. He beats a Mayweather. Why are we? So we're gonna still focus on the guy not being. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's weird to me. A belt shouldn't determine who you are, but he has his sights set on that welterweight strap. He wants it. He wants to show everybody. Okay, so I'm not only just the BMF because that was something that was created for that fight, but I'm also the best in the world. Also, I'll show you I'm the best in the world. I'm gonna get the belt. I'm gonna defend it a couple times. And then I'm going to go on my merry way and become a hermit crab and ski for the rest of my life. That's really what his plans are. What he wants to do.
What a year he has had, and a lot of guys broke through a bit from your roster that weren't really on the radars of a lot of fans. Guys like Jairzinho, Rozenstruik, like what a year he had. He made a huge impact. Bryce Mitchell, I think he was on some people's radars, but then he gets a submission of the year at the Twister. I think a lot of people have their eye on Mike Davis heading into 2020. You have to be excited about the future, man, especially with some of your recent signings as well.
So I tell this to all the guys that I go after and I'm talking to, and I say, I'm like, man, I don't have just fighters on my roster. I've got stars. I look across my roster and I've got stars, man. The sport is missing a lot of personalities. There's a lot of personalities, but it's missing stars. It's missing, that the people that can make a splash. I got Bryce Mitchell got his mama in some camo shorts, and it is the most beautiful thing in the world. I'll be honest with you. I think it's the most beautiful thing in the world. It's as real as you want to get for him, and he's associated with so many people that aren't like him. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen when it comes to a fighter. And then he goes out there and the kid is a badass, and he's mean. He's not a nice guy when it comes to that portion of the fights. He's a mean kid that you're talking about. A switch goes off in him when that cage closes. That switch that people talk about, he's got it, and he comes out and he's looking to hurt. He's not looking to stay in that fight for longer than he has to be. I'm impressed with Bryce Mitchell. With Jair, man, listen, Jair's one of the nicest guys you can meet when it comes to being a person and a human being. I love the guy. Honest guy, nice guy. But wow, 4 fights. I'm telling you like this. I was watching that Overeem fight, and I was just like, man, I was like, shit, man, dude, this is not looking good. I'm like, man, this is terrible. I'm already getting ready in my head, like what we're gonna say, what we're gonna do, just what I'm gonna say to him, and all that good stuff. And he goes out there, he gets that KO, and what's poetic about that is he's finished so many guys so early. Why not finish somebody right before the bell? Like, it's poetic in a way, So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and he's got a tall order now coming in with Ngannou. Francis is no joke, but his style of stand-up matches up really, really well with Francis. It's a bad matchup for Francis. It's one that Jair wanted from the very, very beginning of his career. He says, I could beat Francis. It's the one I want. It's the guy I want. Get me that fight. So we have to get him there, and we did get him there, and now it's his time. It's his time. He should be champion by the end of 2020. He should be the heavyweight champion.
What a story that would be. I wanted to get your input on a couple of things if I could, since they are out there, so I might as well ask you about them while I have you here. First off, it's being reported that Tyron Woodley is going to fight Leon Edwards in March. Is this done? Is this being targeted? What's going on with this one?
Not done. They're drawing at each other right now. All I would say is I just feel bad for whoever has to fight Tyron next. You guys are pissing that man off to a whole other level. And, man, a motivated Tyron is not a guy you guys want to see at the other end of that cage, man. But God bless whoever has to fight him next.
Have you noticed a change in him since the Usman fight?
I think I've seen a change in him since before the Usman fight. And what I mean by that is, listen, everybody knows that Tyron we saw against Usman, that's not even the Tyron that fought Rory. It's not. It was a shell of that guy, even. And we've sort of gotten together, try to identify why, where, who, all those things. And I think we found it. I think we know where we're at. I think and I say we because it's always a conversation with us between me and Tyron, and it's always a good conversation. I've never had one bad conversation with Tyron. It's just, and I know this is going to sound maybe a little bit off. It's not mindset, because mindset, you can't tell a fighter, you don't want to fight, or that doesn't exist. It's not really there. A fighter is going to fight until he's 90, until he's dead. They're going to fight. That's just what they do. They're always looking for a fight. It's not a thing. So when people say, "Oh, you're not motivated," or "You're not," your head's not in the game, that's not necessarily true. Now, does he have a lot of things that he does on the outside? Yes, and I encourage it, and I still tell him to do it, and I will never tell any one of the guys out on my roster not to do the things they want to do outside of fighting, because you got to think, most guys when they train, let's say they train 3 times a day, they're not training for 2 hours every single session. So that would be 1 hour every, whatever it may be. So that's 3 hours total for a day. I heard Tyron say this in an interview, and I was like, man, you make a good point. What are they supposed to do for the other, 15 hours that they're awake or whatever it may be? Are they supposed to just sit around and think about fighting all day? And I mean, that'll drive a person crazy. It doesn't work that way. Tyron Tyron is a very, very motivated individual. He never wants to go broke. He never wants to be just a number. He's a guy that wants to show a lot of kids in bad communities and good communities, whatever it may be. But if you're a kid that came from a bad community like he did, and a kid that came up, not having much, all women around you, you're talking like Tyron's story, when you just listen to it and really understand where he came from and what he came out of, God, man, it's really an inspiring story for the kid that's out there looking, and maybe he's not good at basketball, and he's not good at football, and his golf swing is terrible, and tennis just maybe the shorts don't do it for him. Tyron gave people a way out. He's showing kids, man, look, you got 2 hands, get in the gym, start putting in some work, see what happens. So that's when you start looking at it like that, he's giving kids an option to get out of the hood, get out of, whatever bad decisions or bad options they have, I should say, not bad decisions, bad options. Because when you come out of that kind of environment, your options aren't good. They're either go gang bang, go sell drugs, go do something stupid. You really don't have a good option. Tyron found a good option in sports. And, in his case, he was able to wrestle and learn how to box and do these things, and now, become the welterweight champion of the world, defend it. I love Tyron, man. You guys don't understand. Tyron, to me, is a tremendous human being. I remember one of the fighters that were on my roster, his cousin's house burned. He posted a thing saying, man, my cousin's house, was burned. They started a GoFundMe, and he just posted a thing on the GoFundMe. One of the donors was Tyron Woodley. Dude sent me a thing saying, yo, you got to be kidding me. Tyron just donated to the house. Tyron doesn't go telling people what he does, what he doesn't do, and all these things, but the man's got such a good heart for, one, the young up-and-coming fighters of this game. If there's one person I can tell you guys to look up to in terms of, how to get into and like just understand the business and that type of stuff, Tyron really has gone through a lot of different things, a lot of different scenarios. He understands the game very, very well. He takes care of a lot of young fighters, a lot of young guys that are just coming up. So Tyron, in terms of change of mentality, I know I kind of veered way off of there. Sorry about that, Mike.
That's fine. I love hearing this stuff.
But Tyron's mentality is not tied to his music, not tied to his acting. It's not tied to his different businesses that he's doing. It's not tied to that when it comes to fighting. When it comes to fighting, it comes back down to that kid that had a decision to make, man. And it was, are you going to stay gangbanging and doing some crazy shit, or are you going to get your mom out of the hood and take care of your family? And he made that decision. And I think maybe when he walked into that fight with Usman, you got to understand, like, even us, maybe we did the thing where, like, dude, Usman is like, where's he going to beat you at? I don't really understand where Usman could beat you. Like, he's not the better wrestler, that's for sure. He's not the better striker, that's for sure. Where's he going to beat you? And I think maybe that's where everything came into play. So that's, I think, on that side of stuff, you're making sure your guys' confidence is good and all that. May have got to him. I don't want to give people the reasoning or whatnot, but all I can say is an angry Tyron. See, motivated is not fair because Tyron wakes up motivated every single day. An angry Tyron Woodley is a scary Tyron Woodley. You guys don't know what you're asking for out of this man. And I looked at him and I said, well, it's time for you to, time for you to show the anger. It's time for you to show the world what being in a cage in a fight with you really is. He was not who he was. It sounds so weird, but it just wasn't him. It was not him in that cage. When you ask him about that fight, when you ask him about there, he can't tell you anything because he can't even remember what happened. And it's not a knock on Usman. Like, I don't want to take Usman's steam away. He beat Tyron. He did what he was supposed to do. So you don't take that away from Usman. You just got to sit here and really look at Tyron and look at the fights that he's been in. Just go back and look at. He just recently posted a thing on Instagram of him fighting Robbie Lawler. He was stalking. He was moving. He was like, okay, I'm knocking you out. You're not going to do anything to me. And that's exactly what happened. In the Wonder Boy fight, everything was based on game plan and execution. Same thing with Damian Maia. I just got into a thing with somebody on Twitter about Damian Maia and Tyron. I'm like, man, you guys are looking at Tyron and saying, man, oh, that was one of the most boring fights, this and that. Okay, well, what if I told you Tyron walked in there with one arm and he stopped 27 takedowns that Damian Maia attempted? Outstruck the man with one arm. I think people would be like, holy shit, that was pretty impressive. But everybody's saying that Tyron, was in there for 2 weeks. Well, no, he had surgery on his labrum. He had a torn labrum in the first round. Throwing an uppercut, you could see it. He threw an uppercut, caught him with the uppercut, tore his labrum. Had to get surgery. So one arm, did it against Maia. Nobody can tell me anything. That's one of the best fighters there is on that roster, period. Beat Wonderboy twice. You can say what you want about the draw. He beat Wonderboy twice. It is what it is. We'll move on from there.
Was there a point heading into maybe not even heading into the Usman fight, but of all the champions that we've seen in the UFC over the last 3 or 4 years, I feel like that there was more pressure on Tyron Woodley than any other one. Just because not only did he have to deal with the fighter that he was fighting against, but I feel like he was up against it with Dana White and the UFC heading into every title fight as well. And the fans and all these other things and some of the things you talked about, the Maia fight and the Wonderboy fights and things like that. People forget the first Wonderboy fight was one of the fights of the year that year. So people forget about that as well. But was there a time where he just didn't enjoy? I mean, I think motivation-wise, being the champion was something that got him up in the morning, got him out of bed. But was there a part of him that just didn't enjoy being the champion with all this other pressure against him?
Like I said, I think Tyron actually performs very well under the pressure. I think he enjoys that, that pressure because it gives him the opportunity to think and he's able to respond. Every champion, every guy in the UFC is under some sort of pressure. When you have that belt, GSP used to talk about it all the time. It's one of the reasons why he walked away was where like, okay, this is the guy you just won. You got to fight this guy next. This is the next guy you got to fight. This is the next guy you got to fight. This is the next guy you got to fight. It's a constant, okay, you're never good enough in a way. If you heard what I said you get the belt to then prove you're the best in the world.
Right.
You don't get the belt and you don't win the belt and then say you're the best in the world. No, you get the belt and then you prove you're the best in the world because now you're fighting all the number one guys. Coming up, you may have never fought. Like I don't want to shit on Adesanya because I think he's a phenomenal, and I say phenomenal fucking fighter. But coming up, he fought certain guys that, he did not go through the gauntlet that some, like Whitaker, in my opinion, went through a gauntlet of guys, and that's why we saw Whitaker end up the way he ended up. I just think that, you go 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, you fought Jacare, you fought Tosa. Like, Whitaker went through a gauntlet. He went through guys that, you kind of go, oh shit, that guy beat a lot of damn good guys. If you look at Adesanya's resume versus other guys' resumes, you can't say the same. It's just not. Like Gastelum, in my opinion, is truly a 170 fighter fighting at 85. I take nothing away from Gastelum as well. I just don't think he is the most, like I can't put a feather in my cap and saying, oh, you beating Kevin Gastelum was the reason you got the belt. Like, no, in my opinion, you won the belt when you beat Whitaker. You didn't win the belt when you beat Gastelum. You technically were in a number one contender fight, which was never really the number one contender. The number one contender has always been Yoel Romero. So the path to the belt at 185 was that route. And the reason why I say this is that in terms of champions, John Jones is under more pressure than I think most people. Now that other stars are arriving and coming out, it takes the pressure away. But when it's time to fight, that pressure is always going to be there. Those pressures of a champion will always be there. Once you have that belt, you have the pressure now of you've got to be the best in the world every single day you wake up. Tyron never hid from that, never went away from that. Tyron embraced that. Tyron said, bring them on. I remember one time we were in a press conference. I forgot if it was in LA or if it was in Vegas. I can't remember. And they asked him, they said, what do you think of, they just went down the top 10 welterweight. And he goes, I don't care. Bring it. Don't care. Bring it. Don't care. Like, that was his answer for every one of the names that was being thrown at him. And that's the kind of guy that, embraces it. He wants it. Yeah, come on, I don't give a damn. Bring him. It doesn't matter to me. We could go today. We can go tomorrow. That attitude, he's never shied away from. The pressures of the UFC and all that, every champion feels they have pressure from the UFC. They all do. It's not just Tyron. It's not just John. It's not just, Izzy or Stipe. There's pressure from the UFC all the time because you're their champion. They need to make title fights. They need to make them happen. You're always going to have those pressures. So all the champions feel that. The stuff with Dana White, well, Tyron and Dana have a pretty decent relationship. They don't have a bad relationship. The things that get said in the media by Dana, everyone has an issue with the way Dana promotes, but Dana's promoting a $4 billion company right now. No one can say shit. He took a company from, $1 million to $4 billion. He must be doing something right. Do we all agree with it? No, I don't think any of us agree with a lot of the things that he does, but it's okay. We're not supposed to, it's all right. We're supposed to have different opinions about it. The things that were said about Tyron, it was one of the worst fights ever. It's a knee-jerk reaction that comes out out of Dana. It happens, man. Everybody has a knee-jerk reaction. You look at the fight with Jorge and Nate, and Dana came out initially says, I don't know why they would stop it. And then after he went and saw it, he's like, oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, I get it. If we don't stop that shit, he's probably going to lose an eye. So it's just knee-jerk reactions. Everybody's emotions get kind of high right after a fight, and it kind of sucks. But it is what it is. Can Tyron, stop being a voice? Because that's really what we're asking Tyron to do, is stop being a voice. Everybody wants Tyron just to shut up. That's wrong. Why? He's got opinions, and he wants to say certain things the way he wants to say them. Let him say them, man. He's okay. He's not trying to piss anyone off. That's one thing about Tyron. He's not really trying to piss anyone off. And I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. I think the whole situation with Tyron in the UFC just got blown out of proportion.
I would agree with that. You did mention Adesanya and Yoel Romero. That's being discussed as well. Dana White talked about it with Akamoto yesterday. How confident are you that Yoel Romero gets the next title shot?
I mean, I'm confident. I think it's out there. I think we've heard him say it. I think we know it's coming. Israel called him out. I think the ball is in Israel's court right now. I don't think it's in ours, for that matter. I think it's up to Israel, and I think if Israel puts the pressure on the UFC, it happens. I think that's where we are with it. I don't think anything else is holding this up outside of that.
One question I've gotten a lot over the last month or so is about the condition of Carlos Condit. I know he suffered an eye injury preparing for the fight with Mickey Gall. I know he was excited to come back and get back on track. Do we have an update on Carlos and his condition right now?
He'll be okay. He'll be okay. I don't want to say what happened or not happened, but he will absolutely be okay. It's a common injury, so it's nothing crazy. And yeah, he'll be fine. He's that's one guy right there. That guy's born ready to fight, so he's good. He's all right.
Good to hear. John Jones, obviously a big fight coming up in February against Dominic Reyes. I know he's working once again with the great Lou Giordano for this fight. Yeah. And Reyes is undefeated. He's rose up the ranks rather quickly to get this opportunity. And, there's people out there in the Twitterverse, and Dominic Reyes included, who feel that, Dominic got under John's skin at the press conference earlier this month. What are your thoughts on that, having been around John for so long? And what did he learn from the Santos fight? What kind of motivation are we seeing out of John from that fight over the summer?
Man, John is motivated. I'll tell you this. He's not taking Dominic lightly at all. I don't want to say got under John's skin, but if you guys want to say that, I don't know that. Look at the last guy that got under John's skin. I don't know that's a good idea. Like, when people say, oh, I'm getting in his head, for some guys that works. Like, if you get into Cowboy's head, that kind of works. Cowboy is a different kind of guy. When you talk about a guy like John and you get under his skin and you start getting him, you get those gears grinding up there. Man, I feel bad for these kind of guys, man. Like, they don't know what they're doing. But Dominic talked his way into this fight. He wanted it, he got it, and he's gonna get the best version of John Jones, come February. So I hope he's not taking John lightly. If he is, then it's gonna be a short night.
A couple more things for me, and I appreciate you giving me so much time today on this New Year's Eve, Abe. I know you guys have had some big signings. Bo Nickel's one of them. Impa Kazagane, man, oh man, that's a great signing. He looked so good on the Contender Series. His future is as bright as anybody's in the sport, in my opinion. You got Valerie Loretta. I saw on Twitter she's getting ready to come back. Do you feel like, and I know you're in a weird position where you can't just single out one or two people, but maybe you have some insight on this. Is there anybody that you believe currently has the chance to have that breakout year, sort of like Bryce Mitchell had in 2019, or a Jairzinho, who sort of lives up to their potential and makes a cannonball-like splash in 2020?
I got two people that, top of my head, and I hope none of my other clients get mad at me just because you mentioned Valerie, and Valerie. People forget Valerie's only 2-0 in the sport. She's only 2-0, 3-0, whatever, in mixed martial arts as a professional. So she still has a learning curve, and she's still learning and getting better, and at American Top Team she's doing a great thing. So she's good. Valerie's good. So everyone's forgetting Sergio Pettis is making his Bellator debut coming up in January. I think he has the opportunity to go in and make a huge splash in Bellator. Even at the 135-pound weight division, just because he is that good. I really believe that. So I like Sergio being I'd like to say Sergio is probably one of the breakout guys of this year coming up. And it's weird that I say that because obviously his brother's Anthony and whatnot, but Sergio definitely has a chance to be the breakout kid this year. The other one that I would say is probably going to make a huge splash with his fighting style. He's going to have a lot of people fall in love with him. Is going to be Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a kid that I was so high on before he got into the UFC, before he was on the Contender. I remember telling Sean Shelby, this kid has every tool to be a champion. He has great wrestling. He has great hands, and when I mean boxing, I'm talking boxing hands. We saw what he did in his last fight. That was just a snippet. He went to Tiger Muay Thai out in Thailand. He got way better at his Muay Thai. He was putting combinations together that I haven't seen in MMA. He is a scary kid. Did you watch the fight with him and Jairzinho?
Yeah, that was a great fight.
Gilbert Burns. Go back and watch that fight. Gilbert wanted nothing to do with Mike standing up. Nothing to do with him standing up. Had to take him. Had to use his size. Mike took that last minute call up. Fought him at a weight class that he doesn't necessarily want to be at 70 or whatnot. And that's going to be he's going to be a problem for a lot of guys. Got good wrestling, decent jiu-jitsu, tremendous hands, real good kicks, real good elbows, and he is just a professional. The kid stays in the gym, doesn't do anything wrong. He is a phenomenal athlete, good athlete. So those are my two guys that I think right now will have a breakout. And I gave you one in Bellator and I gave you one in UFC. That way I'm good on both sides.
We're spreading it around. I love it. And lastly for me, it's New Year's Eve, so everyone's throwing out resolution stuff. But what is sort of your New Year's resolution when it comes to your career and managing fighters? Is there anything you want to do better? Anything you think that needs to change that you think you can help with? Like, what are some of your professional goals and impacts that you'd like to make in 2020?
And my professional goal and impact is always to always make the most amount of money for my clients. I think I want to get maybe a couple more champions, and that's across the board and not just in one organization. I want to make sure that we're spreading the wealth. I absolutely in where we're trying to go as a company. Absolutely getting into soccer this year was critical for us. Now that we're licensed in MLS, we're looking to expand there. This year's draft coming up now, we're, God willing, we end up with some big names, and which we already sort of have, so we're good. But just continuing growing, expanding the roster, helping guys get bigger, better paychecks. That's really it. Get bigger, better paychecks for the guys. Getting guys like Brendan Loughlin to be able to say, hey man, I was able to buy my grandma's house, my mom's house, buy their house and have them there. Those are special moments for us, So like for when us as agents are able to look at our clients and say, to our clients, your hard work, you're starting to see the fruits of your labor. It feels good. It really, really feels good. And by the way, Brendan Loughnane fights tonight, so that's going to be a huge fight in MSG and PFL. Yeah, he's a future star. I should have mentioned him as well, and I will mention him also. He's a future star in England. He has got the look. He's got everything about that kid, man, is absolutely there in terms of the it factor. When he walks into a room, people are like, "Holy shit, who is that?" It's a cool thing to see on there, and we've got those big plans for him coming up now in 2020 as well. So just another guy to throw out there, and I'm always thinking about my guys, bro. It's crazy, but yeah, it's just the way it goes with me, man. I'm always like, okay, hit this guy and that guy, and love to see the return of Alexi coming up. Mike Perry, took a nasty loss in the last one, but he'll be back. He always comes back stronger. I always tell him that. So, he'll be back, and Taymor, bro, all those guys, man. Anthony's coming up. He's got a fight, in January as well. It's good stuff.
So much going on, man.
Yeah, man. Just try to just cash bigger checks for the guys. That's really it.
It's just a lot. What a year it has been for you and the team. 2020 is coming up in just a day. I mean, Brendan Loughnane, in my opinion, the one whiff on the Contender Series throughout the show. Like, honestly, I think it's been near perfect from start to finish both seasons, and I think that's the one miss that they've had overall. But, now he has a chance to make his noise in PFL, win $1 million next season, and that's very exciting as well. But Abe, I want to thank you for the time. I appreciate it very much. Giving me over 40 minutes. This has been amazing, very insightful, and continued success to you. Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing what 2020 is going to look like, sir.
Thank you, bud. You have a great one.